everyone. My name is Gaurav Ketrapal. We are here today at Google I/O Connect in Bangalore. I have two very special guests with me from Google, Dave and Lavi. Before we dive into the world of ADK, agent development, and A2A, I would love to learn a little bit more about what you do at Google.
Sure. ADK, A2A, and agent development. No, okay. Yeah. So I'm Dave Elliott. So I've been with Google for about 13 years. I run the DevRel team for Cloud AI. So our team essentially works with developers to help them understand our AI technologies, to try it, and then hopefully to ultimately build really good stuff.
Great. Awesome. I'm part of the same team. I've been also part of the core team for ADK, which was working with all the documentation, all the cool things that you see from the ADK side. I get to work a lot close with the engineers who have built this, also the PMs with the visions and all. But having worked with him for almost 4 years now in Google, I think the best part is that we get to work with developers, and that's pretty much what I do. Okay, great. Before we move forward, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you. I know it's a very busy day and you have been presenting sessions all day and you pretty much have like a packed day today. So thank you for that. So one of the things I want to actually start off with, we have been hearing ADK come up a lot in the last few months, and till last year, nobody had heard about MCP. Till January, nobody had heard about ADK. So how is this new development paradigm of AI agent development different from what we have seen in the past?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. It seems like every few months it's an entirely new world, right? We think we've figured out this, and then something new comes, and then something new comes. It's been pretty remarkable. I was fortunate enough, or I'm old enough, to have lived through the dot-com boom, and I never thought I'd live through something like that. And I think since about 2022, we are living at that same pace. To answer your specific question, so ADK has been really successful, right? It's been wildly adopted. And I think it's probably, the way it's different, the reason people really like it, here is, one is built by developers for developers. So when you work with ADK, if you're a software developer, it's going to feel really, really familiar to you. And the second thing is, it was built from the ground up to be deployed, right? To get into production. So that just, building an agent that you could play with, or toy agent is one thing, but actually getting into production in a way that can scale and secure way was built when it's something that's built in for me.
And it's open source as well.
And I should mention that, of course, yes, it's open source. And from a Google perspective, it's really important. Like, we want community to lean into it, and I think we had something like 10 or 12,000 stars in the first few weeks. Get it up when we launch.
And I think just to add one more extra thing, which is internally as well, ADK has seen a huge adoption. So one of the points that he said that it's built by developers is also the fact that we are using ADK internally to a larger extent, which means most of the Google products will end up using ADK for a lot of things. So it is battle tested in that way. And it's not like that we never use any other agents internally. In fact, I remember we used to use a lot of different agents. So it basically just came from the fact that, we want something better, let's just build it and ship it.
Which is, you follow TensorFlow, Kubernetes, like that's the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's still early days. So again, it's evolving, but at the same time, it's not perfect. And I understand, I follow the GitHub repository pretty closely. So I think there are a lot of updates happening pretty much on a weekly basis.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. This is a pretty significant commit by Google. Like, we're moving large resources in to support this. This is not a short-term throw over the wall. This is something that we're kind of betting big on, and the feedback from developers has been great so far.
Yeah, and the funny anecdote I can share on this is that the scale at which we are changing and contributing back to ADK Python is so large that we actually had to build agents to support all of this expansion in terms of how do we address the PRs and issues quickly, how do we build more and more with ADK. So we are internally actually using ADK just to do that because we've seen so much of expansion and requirement across. And there is a multilingual strategy around ADK as well. It is not just restricted to Python. There is Java as well, and there are support for other languages coming down the... Yes. So I think the two that we know of, and we have actually publicly said that, is the Go and the TypeScript. In fact, one thing that we're going to do very soon is we're going to release our roadmap to public for the next couple of months because we also want to do something where we take the feedback, just like Dave said. This is one of those fields where it's not just Google who should think about it. It's the developers who should think about it. And we want to put our roadmap in front of developers and see what they feel. And, if there's anything that we're missing and we should prioritize, we should do that.
Okay.
And you mentioned a very interesting point that it's not just Google, but it's the broader community, which brings me to A2A. Yeah, when it was launched, I immediately sensed there is a problem. You have all these AI agents. I was actually reading earlier this week, SoftBank has committed they will have 1 billion agents operating by the end of this year. The number is mind-boggling. 1 billion agents. And again, the problem, and I've been doing software development for about 25 years, when we talk about all these heterogeneous systems, the first thing that comes to mind is how will they talk to each other? How will they interoperate? So can you tell a little bit more about the thought process behind A2A, what's been happening behind the scenes with A2A, and what's the future of A2A as a protocol?
Well, it's funny. You pretty much just described the rationale. You really nailed it there. I mean, in a future where agents are everywhere, the ability for them to understand, communicate, and collaborate together is required. And A2A is actually really quite simple, right? It's just a way to identify yourself to each other, and I think that a lot of people are expecting future to having swarms of agents and multiple agents across multiple levels. And A2A is a stepping stone to making that a reality.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the key things that I've observed, and I said this in my session as well, that from an adoption point of view, we are still very early. There's so much to do. There's so much that we can grow in these areas. And I think as we move forward, this is pretty much similar to how HTTPS came 25 years back. And billion agents sounds weird to us, but I'm pretty sure in 5 years, it'll go in a direction where it looks more awkward to us that, why was billion even awkward? So yeah, I think A2A is one of those things which is very, and the other thing which I want to mention is that it's also tightly integrated with ADK. So we recently did in one of the releases, I think last one, that we did the tight integration with ADK, which means that sooner, any agent that you build with ADK by default becomes native A2A, and you don't have to do a lot of work to make it change.
And we did talk about the industry support. We were surprised, and I know you work with some from the same large vendors. We were surprised by the level of support and engagement we got from the biggest vendors in the IT landscape. There's a real need for this.
Absolutely. So I think when it comes to the enterprise, companies like Salesforce, ServiceNow, Microsoft, everybody is now backing A2A.
Yeah.
Which brings me to another question. I understand Google has kind of shifted A2A from owning it to handing it off or donating it to Linux Foundation. So is there what's the strategy behind that?
Yeah, and I think, and I can speak in terms of what we have seen and the decision, because again, this is done by a very key committee who have made a choice to do that. My take, and maybe Dave's take as well, would be the fact that we want to keep Google outside of sort of the day-to-day and the future decision point of view, so that there's less bias in the system. And all the partners who have agreed to come together, and thousands and millions of developers will come together, they own this from a future direction. Level playing field.
Yeah, I mean, this is not we didn't. We're not inventing the playbook here.
Yeah.
The successful path to establishing a protocol that or a standard that everybody likes, everybody enjoys, and everybody actually supports is making it part of the part.
And I think just to add another thing which is very important is this means that we are committed to take this long term, right? Because it's not that we just build this because there's a hype. We want to put this in the foundation because we think this is something which is going to go long term, almost like HTTPS and APIs and all of that. So I think it's a fair thing that they did on this part.
Absolutely. And then I think I've also been interacting with a lot of developers today. And I think the one common theme I've kind of gathered is that a lot of them say that we have started our Gen AI journey in the sense of learning. We were learning LLMs, and now you are telling us, okay, LLMs are already past that stage and you need to learn ADK now. So what would be your advice for somebody from a career progression perspective who wants to be like an AI engineer or an AI developer? Like, is ADK like a critical skill, or will it be a critical skill in the future?
This is impossible to predict, but what I will say is that actually in my keynote session earlier today, I talked about the evolution of AI agents, and it's exactly what you described. Way back 2 years ago, it was an LLM which hallucinated. It was trained on its its own data. It had limitations on time. Then we had RAG, which grounded it and significantly improved the quality of responses. And then we moved from there to actually truly be able to do function calls. And that suddenly opened up a whole world of third-party integrations that you could put into your agent. And then finally now, we're in phase 4, phase 5, where you're going to have multiple tools working together. And this is why you need a framework like ADK.
Yeah.
So you can take the LLM, leverage it, across reasoning, and then ultimately, stage 5, I guess, is the agents working, the billions of agents working with each other through all that.
Yeah. Any career advice from you, like or learning advice in terms of how developers can ramp up on ADK? Like, I wish I knew.
Well, to ramp up on ADK, like that's pretty straightforward. We have a repo, we've got docs, we've got samples, and all three of those are really actually pretty robust. The docs, all of them are whatever. Whenever you're watching this, whatever I say today is, better in the next few weeks, the next few months. But I realized I didn't answer your question around career. I mean, I think it's a really good question. You can't predict what the future is, so you need to do the fundamentals today while still trying to stay current or what to do. Feels like things like MCP, A2A, and ADK will stick.
Right.
And it feels like all three of those are a low lift.
Yep.
Like it's not, you don't need to go to university for 4 years.
Absolutely. And I would say, just do it. Like for developers, I think at the end of the day, it's all, he said this in one of the slides, I remember, and I'm like, yeah, that's the right message. Just do it, because we don't know what's going to happen in 6 months or down the line 1 year, right? And I'm not saying from a Google perspective, I'm generally saying like, we don't know the evolution of agents or the LLMs and all. The only thing that I know from a developer, because I do build things, is the fact that we should just build things.
Absolutely.
And we have all of these frameworks. People should go contribute. They should really become part of these things so that they can influence the direction where they're headed.
Yeah, just so for the viewers, like I have personally been playing around a lot with ADK. The way I kind of did it was just did pip installed ADK, did the code labs, and it's very straightforward. Like there are very detailed code labs available, and if you do that, you can actually start building simple agents and then think about more complex use cases as well. I think one of the questions which comes up often is ADK a like for like replacement to MCP? I know it's not, but how would you describe it to anybody else that ADK is actually meant to be complementary to MCP?
Yeah, so I think, so when we were initially building this, and this is a true story actually, so when we were initially building this, there was no connection of MCP in the original ADK. The reason being that we were essentially thinking of building agents in a very different sort of paradigm, or let's say abstraction. So the short answer is no, it's not a replacement to MCP, because initially all we wanted to do was, if you were to build a multi-agent system, all kinds of delegation, the architectures that you can build, that's all our focus was, that if you were to build that, how do we make it easy for you to build that? The MCP came
by software developers for
software developers, right? So, and that's exactly what we thought. If we solve that, then accessing a data or a system outside of that system would be the second step that we need to solve. And then we said, hey, MCP is great. It works. A lot of developers are using. Let's just make it work with ADK. And that's exactly what we have done. So we never say, oh, use A2A or don't use this. We say, actually, we love MCP. We like keep on building more and more integrations.
The Code Labs also has examples where we are building agents using ADK to access MCP servers. So.
In fact, and this reminds me of one of the key decisions that we made, is that We also made it easy for people to use primitives of ADK. For example, you can actually take your own function and make a MCP server out of it. We also made sure that you can deploy these MCP servers on Cloud Run. So you can see that we are really sort of happy with MCP to an extent that we think that this becomes a very strong primitive of ADK in general.
Yeah, and I think that, the big picture view here is that I think the way that companies and individuals are going to realize a value from this whole LLM revolution ultimately is going to be agents. Yeah. So the sooner that we can make agents, a reality, and multiple agents, billions of agents, available to work together, the sooner the value from all this investment.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now the last and the trick question for you. So we've seen in the last, I think, few weeks, we've actually seen AI engineers being offered joining bonuses to the tune of $100 million. On the other side, we have people who say AI will not take your jobs. And there is a fraction of people who believe AI will take your jobs. So again, as somebody who has been with Google for over a decade and somebody who's so deeply ingrained into generative AI, what is your take on it? Like, how will AI kind of revolutionize the technology sector, and what should people really do to make the most out of this opportunity?
So everybody's heard that, AI is not coming for your job, but somebody knows how to use AI is coming for your job. Yes. I actually don't subscribe to that. I really think that it's going to create more opportunities for everybody. And it won't just be, they won't necessarily be the same opportunities, but it's going to be more. Again, if agents is a way that you realizing values, it'll drive more and more opportunities for everybody.
That is true. I 100% agree with this. I'm also pro sort of in that, and I've not seen .com bubble in the way you have seen, but I think we have seen so many technologies shift, and I don't want to compare AI with those shift, but I think we are moving in a direction where our jobs, our abstraction of how we build things will change a lot. Things will become, the entry barriers will be broken for a lot of developers to just build things out of thin air using Firebase Studios and all of that. So we're heading for a sort of very different world. In the short term, we may see some sort of disruptions here and there, but I think in the long run, I think we're going to see very different world, different jobs, and what we are doing.
It's an exciting time.
It's an exciting, yeah.
As exciting as I've seen since .com boom.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, each technology has its own maturity curve. I think we are very fortunate to be living this phase where AI is kind of maturing. Those $100 million bonuses may or may not stay.
John's AI is promised to give, right?
Let's talk.
Yeah, so those bonuses may or may not remain forever. But I think one thing is clear, that if you are somebody who's in the technology industry, AI is a skill you need to learn, whether you like it or not. The choice is yours. So with that, thank you once again, Dave, and thank you, Lavi, for your time. And it was a wonderful conversation. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us. Thanks so much.